Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our second episode of our second season of Behind the Bench. I am Rocco Granado from InLacrosseWeTrust.com, and with me, as always, from LaxPhilly.com is none other than Gary Groob. Gary, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Rocco. It's great to be here on the eve of the season beginning, and can't wait. Got the itch.
Yeah, the itch is going around the league big time. 32nd season about ready to get underway in the National Lacrosse League. I just only felt it was appropriate for that opening song, The Final Countdown. I mean, it's here. In a matter of 22 hours, the season will be underway with a couple games tomorrow night, and then, one or two on Saturday. It's going to be an interesting season as usual, but most of all, as this season goes along, there's going to be you're going to have fans out there, and as we talked about last week, two new teams that are going to be looking at some of these players, wondering who will be left unprotected in the draft. But first, I want to start off by saying I want to thank Yum Yum Lacrosse, Yum Yum Lax on Facebook. They are showing interest in our show. So if you want, please visit their Facebook page. It's at Yum Yum Lax, New York City. You put Yum Yum Lax, it comes up there. Another media outlet for lacrosse, mainly out there in New York. But they have their Eastern Conference preview up. And of course, visit InLacrosseWeTrust.com and also LaxPhilly.com as the previews are up, and game recaps will be posted as the games get done for each week. Guys, let's just get right to it. We got some big games to start off the season. It's not anything minor. We got some really good head-to-head battles starting off tomorrow night. We have Georgia at New England, Toronto at Buffalo, and Colorado at Vancouver. Now, we know Georgia won it last year. They're the NLL champion, so their first game is at New England. Toronto and Buffalo, obvious rivalry there. Some good butting of heads. And Colorado and Vancouver, two teams that met in round one last year. And then Saturday night, the only non-conference game you have is Calgary at Rochester. So let's just jump right into it, get into the thick of things here. Let's look at Georgia and New England. Georgia, as I said, coming in the Champions Cup, if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man, as Ric Flair would say.
Yeah, but is it really the man? We're talking about a whole bunch of players that, Chad Tutton is physically unable to perform. Jordan Hall, Mason Jones, Ethan O'Connor, Joel White still on the holdout list. They just put Liam Burns on the practice squad. They're carrying three goaltenders, Mike Poulin, Warren Hill, and Kevin Ullman.
Mm-hmm.
So is it the same team? Yeah, we have the Thompsons, but is it the same team? Is this the one that won?
Yeah, I mean, well, we'll get to see what they're made of. I mean, they always say champion show can come through adversity, right? Well, you have these players, holdout lists on the pup list, and carrying the third goaltender, and there's a lot there. So we'll get to see what are they more than just the Thompsons on this team?
Oh, as much firepower as they have, they can score.
Right.
Right, but is Mike Poulin going to be like Mike Poulin has last year, or is he going to be like the one that was in Calgary in the last 2 years?
Right, yeah. And then you also got to look at, when you're talking goaltenders, you're looking at the Black Wolves now. They no longer have Evan Kirk. They have Aaron Bold, former Saskatchewan Rush goaltender. And we know how Aaron Bold can play. He could he could steal the game. He could win the game himself. So it's not like, they're going to be scoring on just any type of goaltender. This is, one of the elite in the league that they're going to be going against. They have the matchups on NLL.com. When you look at the game, preview, they're showing Lyle Thompson with 116 points and Sean Evans with 103. Lyle Thompson and Kevin Crowley, both 45 goals each for their teams. Lyle Thompson had 71 assists, Sean Evans with 65. And Mike Poole and Evan Kirk, 646 saves to 676. So the matchups with those players look pretty even, but as you stated, Georgia is without some key players. New England, on the other hand, I guess you could say, made their defense a lot stronger.
Well, yeah, they've taken from the league, so they've got Dave Brock from Buffalo.
Yep.
They've got Adam Bombery from Rochester.
Yeah.
They have Joel Coyle. They have Matt Spanger. These are the young bucks of the team.
Right.
Sheldon Burns. You also have the battle-hardened veterans. You got Brett Manny and Derek Suddens. And you also have John LaFontaine, who anchors the transition team.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, let's put in also, you have Jay Thornberry, face-offs. So you got a pretty strong team.
Yeah.
They did an awful lot to bolster up their defense. So, you can't just say, well, Bull will get exposed. No, they have a pretty solid defense, too.
Right. And, their defense is solid. One, I don't know if I would say big surprise, but it was to some of the fans. Bill O'Brien is no longer with the New England Black Wolves. He was released. He was one of the cuts made. I guess, I don't know if you want to say for obvious reasons, but from what I heard...
This day and age of the National Lacrosse League and basically the mandate of no fighting, his spot could be more used for a transition player or a solid stay-at-home defenseman.
Right.
As opposed to someone who's going to take, for lack of a better word, stupid penalties.
Right. And, if they need some type of enforcer, you got David Brock, who is not shy about dropping the gloves, if need be.
Okay? Exactly. So you can use that spot for something else.
Yeah, O'Brien was one of the fan favorites in New England. Class act, always had time, not only for the fans, but for, we'll say, media personality, to talk, and, loves the game of lacrosse, so he has no problem talking about it. But yeah, from what I heard, the preseason did not really go too well in his favor in a few of the games, but...
Well, it is what it is, and he's been picked up by the Arena League, and he's playing for Peterborough now. So, we'll see as he makes his way back.
Who knows?
He may make it back into the NLL.
Yeah, he may make his way back, and, you have an expansion draft coming up, and, next August, and, hey, he may get invited to free agent somewhere. You never know.
Sure, there's injuries. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
But let's also get back to New England. And they've also bolstered up, which was already a strong offensive thing, so they can score.
Yeah.
You can't just say that Georgia can throw it up and they're not going to have any competition. Because let's remember, we have Sean Evans, you have Kevin Crowley, you have both Kyle and Kevin Buchanan, and with a draft pick of J.P. Keeley, goal scoring I don't think will be much of a problem.
No. Well, the one thing I worry about, there have been times last year that Kevin Buchanan ran hot and cold. We saw some games where he got maybe 2 assists and no goals, and some he just was somewhat invisible at times. He needs to be more consistent on there. You also got
balance as it is still very, very simple. The team is going to go as Sean Evans goes.
Right, but
he's still the catalyst. He's still the heart and soul. So, if you're able to shut down Evans, you're going to take a good chunk of what their offense is able to do.
Right, and that's where...
Sean Evans, as much as he's matured, can still be goaded into taking silly penalties.
Right, and that's where you need Kevin and Kyle Buchanan to step up to put the ball more into the net. Players like Mark Cockerton, Sheldon Burns, even though he's on defense, he could put the ball in the net. And you mentioned J.P. Keeley, John LaFontaine out there in transition can put the ball up there as well. Seth Oaks.
Now, one of the things that comes that just pops up to me is, with the exception of Kevin Crowley, their offense is small.
Yeah.
So they can be pushed around. Now, they're very skilled players and can probably work as a pick and roll, but they still can be pushed if they have a right defensive scheme.
I'm trying to look over here.
Have to get a little creative on how to avoid that.
Yeah, Keeley 6 foot, 6'1". Crowley goes 6'4".
Yeah, with the exception of Crowley.
Yeah, with the exception of Crowley, the biggest one.
Evans, Kyle Buchanan, Keeley, they're not big guys.
No, Kyle Buchanan goes 5'8". Evans is 5'8". So after that, the biggest offensive player, you got Riley O'Connor at 6'1". And that's really it. So, but don't let the size fool you. Georgia's got Shane Jackson, who stands at about 5'8" as well.
Yeah, I'm just saying. You got your defense that's got the right scheme.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they can be pushed off of their game.
Right, and they could force them to take the outside shots.
It's a black and blue event.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. It really is. But yeah, I mean, you got a strong defense now. You got a strong goaltender, and as we said in the beginning, it's really going to the verdict, I'll say, is going to come with what goaltender do we see for the Swarm. Do we see?
Well, you got an 8-hour travel of Aaron Bold, so let's make sure that Doug Jamieson is ready.
Well, Bold is probably already in town already.
That's today.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he came in already today. So.
Yeah, well, he had said that on Twitter, but 17 more games. I don't think he has that ability.
Yeah, well, you have to see what happens. I mean, most of their games are on Sundays. So he flies in on a Friday. He has a whole day to recoup from the flight. As far as for the home game. So we'll have to see what happens. As time goes on, we'll see. How it goes for him. But with the way their schedule is, hey, he can have like a day to recoup, I'll say. And like we said, it depends on what goaltender do we see from the Storm. Do we see the pull-in wall, or do we see some holes in that wall?
Well, anything's possible.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that ends up. That game is a 7:30 start at the Mohegan Sun Arena in New England. The next game that we have, you have the Toronto Rock against the Buffalo Bandits. Buffalo will be without, obviously, Billy D. Smith, who changed colors.
Yeah.
Also, you're looking at no Anthony Cosmo. That he has hung up the pads. He has retired, and in his place, the Bandits went out and picked up Alex Bouquet. Now, Alex Bouquet was a backup to Dylan Ward in Colorado, and they kind of split duties a little bit until Dylan Ward just stood on his head, and Bouquet was relegated to the bench. How do you think this is going to affect Buffalo? You have a goalie like Alex Bouquet. He had a fantastic summer. And coming over from being Dylan Ward's backup, you know he could be a starter anywhere. How do you see him fitting in with Buffalo?
I think he's going to fit in with Buffalo very well. But, again, he had a great summer. He had a great summer, and he has spent most of the time riding the Pines. So let's see how he does when it's all NLL all the time. Now, again, he's in a revamping Buffalo Bandits team. They're not revamped yet, but they're on their way. Let's see what Troy Cordingley can pull out of his list of schemes to try and get a defensive scheme that works. Because even on transition with Mark Stainhouse, you wonder what is left in the tank.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of different pieces that are happening in Buffalo, and they're going to need some time to try and work it together. So, you know, when you lose Benesh, Alex Keto Hill, to a degree Billy D. Smith, because you don't have that muscle back there.
Right.
You do have Priolo, but Priolo has become quite the transition player as well. So I don't think he's going to waste his time doing things that he used to.
And for his game, I wouldn't. I mean, he had one hell of a season last year, and
he ran it right through the summer as well. So I think he's found his calling in this league.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, as we talked about last year, we both think that he was robbed of the Defensive Player of the Year award, and that was the big talk on social media during the awards at the time. But yeah, Mark, you don't know how much is left in the tank of Mark Steenhouse. 37 years old. The body is taking a beating, especially in the Eastern Conference. Okay? He's constantly going up against Toronto, Rochester, in the beginning of his career, Philadelphia. It just, you know, it's like the black and blue division there. So, you know, what does he have left? Dane Smith.
The problem is that Buffalo's going to have to score an awful lot of goals because they really didn't address the defensive problems that they had.
No.
They've addressed some of their offensive things.
Yeah, they've
addressed a lot of offensive things.
Yeah, they picked up.
You have Calen Crawford in there.
Crawford, yeah.
You drafted Josh Byrne. You have Dunston in there. There's a bunch of people in there that will be able to help.
Yeah, you still have Pat Saunders.
You're going to have to score a lot because I got a feeling there are going to be nights that Alex Bouquet wished he was still doing whatever he was doing before and counting to 5. Because he's going to see a lot of rubber.
Yeah.
Take a look at what Cosmo saw.
Yeah.
You know, now can Bouquet, here's the test. By seeing that much rubber, will he still be as efficient as he was? That's what remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Tomorrow will be a good test. Because, you know, with the likes of, you know, the Rock at Hellier back, you've got Schreiber, LeBlanc, Hickey, Lindner, Ricardo, Reinhold, Jones. You can keep going if you'd like.
3 shots for a quarter?
You know, that every one of them is a pretty potent shot.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, transitionally, you got Brock Sorensen, Brody Merrill, Damon Edwards. All these guys are pretty potent. You know, there could be a track meet. If they try and do a track meet, they're going to be badly, badly outplayed.
Yeah, and it's...
Toronto did get younger, and Toronto is still quick and healthy for a change.
Yeah.
And the two guys that aren't healthy are on the men's, and they should be back soon with Jalen Rogers and Evans coming back. And we'll see where that goes from there. You know, defensively, the Rock have a good defense. You know, and they addressed that last year. And, you know, you have Brad Cree, you have Jordan Magnuson. Drew Burrow, Belgrave, they put back into the practice squad, I guess. I don't know if travel from BC is a little bit of a problem, but you still have veterans like Sandy Chapman, Bill Ostrauser, who's also found his game. He's not just an enforcer anymore either.
No.
You got Phil Caputo playing defense, who started with Brampton, in the summer on offense. And let's not forget Latrell Harris.
Yeah, 19 years.
I don't know if you saw the Rock Talk, which was on Facebook today. I actually shared it earlier. It's also on Twitter. But they showed his vertical leap.
Yeah.
And, he made a 48. It's real easy. And he just slightly missed the 60-inch vertical leap. Right.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. Wait.
Basically, you can just jump over him.
Yeah, well, wait. Before you leave it at that, let's throw into the mix that he is only 19 years of age.
Yeah, he's still going to hit his prime.
Yeah.
He hasn't got anywhere near there yet.
No. He don't even, it's kind of like building a car, okay? You don't even have the primer on the car yet. This is just raw sheet metal right now with him. I mean, he played great last year, and, as everybody said, the sky is the limit for him.
Yep.
For Harris.
Definitely.
I mean, 19 years old.
Of course, we got Brandon Miller, and you have Nick Rose. And they drafted Riley Hutchcraft out of Mimico, and he more or less was the thing that brought them to the Minto Cup tournament. Because when he was hot, there wasn't anything getting by him. And the guys from Brampton can attest to that. So, the future looks pretty bright.
Yeah, and and this offense is it's just scary because as you said, you had Hickey, you had Hellier, you look at Phil Caputo up there on offense, Stephane LeBlanc, but then you go ahead and you add the likes of Adam Jones.
Most teams, if they lose the likes of Casey Burns, Rob Marshall, Jeff Gilbert, Jesse Gamble, all in the same summer, that's going to hurt.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But I would tend to wonder where would these guys fit in? You look at the roster right now.
Yeah,
so, I don't see them taking. They may have had to take 2 steps back to start with, but they went 5 forward.
Yeah.
So if they can stay healthy, they started doing a real nice meshing job last year as they made it to the semis. I don't see why they can't just keep building on this.
Right.
So I think it's. I think Buffalo's got their hands full tomorrow night. Let's just see if Toronto can give. They've always had a problem putting 4 quarters together. They've always had 3 quarters and maybe a bit.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can have them put 4 quarters together and see what results.
Yeah, and this will be in Buffalo. So,
Yeah, because the home opener next week is going to be one you're not going to miss. Not want to miss anyways because it's Saskatchewan coming to town. But it's also that this game is the Twitter game of the week from the NLL.
Toronto Buffalo
game.
Wow.
So you can catch it on Twitter at NLL, and this is the game you will see for free. You won't need NLL TV for it.
No. But the others you will.
Yes, you will.
Now our third game of the night tomorrow night is a rematch of the first round of the playoffs. Colorado at Vancouver. It's at the Langley Event Center. Now, Colorado, I don't know how well they're going to be. GM Steve Govett left the team, and he is now heading the expansion team that's going to start next season.
So did his assistant. Let's get that straight, too.
Mm-hmm.
So their top front office people left.
Well, and they're now heading the San Diego Seals. So now with the Colorado Mammoth, you got Coach Pat Coyle. The question here is Zach Greer healthy? That's going to be the
it doesn't. All points don't seem that way yet.
Yeah, and
but Sweeting, he's not healthy yet either.
Yeah, because Greer is not even on.
No, they're not on the roster
yet. No,
they're both still on the injured.
Yeah.
But you also lost Dan Coates and Cam Holding for the year, which is huge. The other thing is that, of course, nobody was safe in Colorado, and half the team got shifted and moved and around. So, you lost Caleb Crawford and you got Ryan Benesh. But Ryan Benesh doesn't have anybody to play with just yet.
No.
Dylan Ward is still the goalie, but Steve Fryer is now his backup because Alex Bouquet obviously is in Buffalo, as we've already talked about. And Fryer's capable backup, but if something goes wrong with Ward, I don't know if he's your guy. Toronto didn't think so.
No. I don't know. I've seen him play.
Well, they do have a good defense. Let's not take anything away. You've got Josh Sullivan, you got Greg Downing, Taylor Stewart, Robert Hope, Jordan Gillis, Brad Self, Joey Capito, who can also, put the ball in the net. He's a little gazelle. Nick Ocello, Quinn Mackey, and they had a 6th-round pick of Rowan Kelly, and they're probably one of the most athletic defenses in the NLL. And with Ward in the back there, that all of a sudden makes them a contender. Up front, like I say, we have Ryan Benesh, and at the moment, well, you got Jacob Ruiz, Steve Keel, Chris Wardle, Jeremy Noble, Eli McLaughlin. So you still have a good veteran present, Brody Eastwood as well.
Right.
As well as a third-round pick in Ryan Lee. And when Greer and Sweeting come back, you're going to have all the more. But there's been so much movement and not a whole lot of time to get everybody together. Will this team be a little bit upheaved?
Yeah, and when they do come back, how are they going to be able to, gel together? I mean,
that's the big point.
Yeah, I mean, you have...
Vancouver's got a bit of that problem too, right? They have the regular guys, Reese Dutch, Logan Schuss, and Corey Small. They added Tony Malcolm from Buffalo. And they also have, new sharing time with Evan Messenger, Joel McCready, and James Ray. But they brought in to help things in transition. They have Brandon Goodwin and a second-round pick of Ryan Fournier, and that'll join Brandon Cleland and Travis Cornwall, Justin Salt, Cliff Smith. So they got a fair amount of people that are going to be moving towards the net. Where I find a bit of the problem to be probably defensively still, which was their Achilles heel last year.
Yeah.
They didn't really get along with their defensive coach. They've changed him, so maybe we have something going on there. But, you have Matt Beers, Ian Haxby, Peter McFedrich, and Chris O'Doherty. And, of course, let's not forget, it took all of one day, but when Rochester released Andrew Suter, he became the stealth.
Yeah.
So now you have leadership there. So, again, they haven't had a whole lot of time to get it together. And, you have Ty Bellinger as your starter, which is great. He played terrific last year. He took the job from T. Rich.
Yeah, and see if he
he ran with it.
Yeah, see if he can
now
keep that up.
they've taken Brody McDonald. And if Ty Bellinger fails somehow or gets hurt, you have the Andre the Giant of lacrosse to get in the nets, and, that's it.
Yeah,
I always love watching the national anthems because it doesn't matter if you're 6'4", 6'1", and then you have Brody McDonald,
6'7".
A body, a head above.
They got him.
It looks hilarious.
They got him listed at 6'7". I think he's pushing 6'9".
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 6'7", 260 is what he's listed as, and just like you said, if Bellinger stumbles even a little bit, where they feel, hey, let's take him out, let's give him a breather for a quarter. They have confidence in putting in Brody McDonald and not have really not have to worry, because they have two goaltenders that are starters. They really do. I mean, put Brody on another team. I mean, let me put it this way: if he's left unprotected, okay, and he's one of the better goalies out there, I wouldn't be surprised seeing San Diego pick him up, because he could be a starter.
Sure.
In this league with no problem whatsoever. So you have that team there. You mentioned about Joel McCready, Reese Dutch, Logan Schuss, Cliff Smith with transition, Corey Small up there on the offense, Justin Salt on transition, who played phenomenal last year. Peter McFedrich, 6'3", which I think he's actually taller than that. Tony Malcolm, Brandon Goodwin. They have a strong team, and you just hope the defense holds up. I don't see any problem with them putting the ball in the net. That's for sure.
Right.
And and I think it's good that they're opening up their season at home. They went ahead. They got by Colorado the last time, and now they're at home. And one heck of a way to open up a season.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite a game.
Yeah. Now, after those three, and if you're not already hungover after those three games, you got Calgary at Rochester. This is going to be one of the more interesting games. Okay, it's the only game on Saturday. I say interesting because they no longer have Jeff Shatler. So I'm curious to see how they go there. Wes Berg has not been inked or added to the lineup as of yet. So you're missing a big part right there. You still got Curtis Dixon, Dane Doby out there on the offense. That's enough right there to scare you. Riley Lowen, Vaughn Harris. Let me see. Let me go through here. Who else do we have here? Tyler Digby will be.
Well, let's also remember that because Rochester decided to go with Jake Withers as their first pick as number 2, Zach Currier became Calgary's first pick, number 3.
Yeah.
We get to see right away which one was the better idea.
Right. I mean, you got Currier in transition, but the kid can move the ball
up. Had
up.
a lot of picks, and they did really well.
Yeah.
I think they covered up for losing Shatler because you have Tyler Pace, you have Anthony Kalanick, you have, of course, Dane Doby and Curtis Dixon. So they can score, but can they score enough?
Yeah, they got Kalanick on defense, and this is another young kid. He's only 19 years of age.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
19, 6'1", 190. The kid's not done growing yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, they did a killing in the draft, and it's just a matter of,
so much so that that they have Bob Snyder on the practice squad, which is odd.
for now.
Yeah, for now.
For now. Yeah, you mentioned Todd.
At this point, Westberg still hasn't signed.
No.
So that's strange, but stranger things have happened. The Achilles heel for Calgary, of course, is goaltending with Frank Sigliano and Christian Del Bianco. Though, as I mentioned on the last show, Christian Del Bianco had a wild summer. He played great with the Coquitlam Adanacs.
Yeah.
And he was the bright spark in the shellacking that Coquitlam took in the Minto final from Six Nations.
Yeah, just a bit.
The games were one-sided, but if he wasn't standing on his head, that could have been a whole lot worse.
Yeah. And let's remember, Del Bianco is only 20 years of age.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's still, a young pup in this, as opposed to Siciliano. He's 25, but he goes 6'3", 285 to Del Bianco's 5'10", 196. You're looking at just about a 100-pound difference. Siciliano goes 285, Del Bianco's 196. That's why a lot of times you'll see Del Bianco in the game when they need to have the goaltender run on and off the field for that extra man. If they're down by a few, you got that extra 100 pounds not out there. So,
well, simply put, I think Calgary, with their picking, probably made the most steps forward of any team through the draft.
Now we just need to see it on the floor.
Yeah, let's see how they mesh, because, again, they've only had a couple of weeks together and a couple of games to try and figure it out.
Figure it out, right. Because
this will be a work in progress.
Yeah, because
and things will change dramatically if Westberg comes back.
Yeah,
if he sits the year, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, because we saw what happened last year. Calgary got off to a slow start, very slow, and it almost got to the point where that third spot of the playoffs was almost locked up 7 games into the season with the way Calgary was playing. But, Vancouver, at that time last year, couldn't capitalize and put a great deal of distance between the two. So we'll just have to see what happens this year. Now, for Rochester, this is a team that is interesting. Okay? You still have Dan and Paul Dawson. Dan Dawson is just going crazy right now. You got Matt Vince back there behind the net. Their addition, Billy D. Smith on defense.
Well, they have a black and blue defense.
Yes.
As you have Paul Dawson. You also have, as we say, Billy D. Smith. Don't forget you have Sid Smith.
Yeah.
Eric Schul. Sam Hossack, Scott Campbell. You have a lot of players there that are good players. But, led by Dawson and Smith, as long as they stay out of the box, that'd be great. But having Matt Vince there, who is still, floating around like a butterfly there, he can still move.
Yeah.
It's easy to correct mistakes when you have him back there. Though he has had more of those ordinary nights than he had in earlier years.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing I want to bring up. Matt Vince is 35 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
He only has a few more years left. Rochester's got to start looking at goaltending here soon. Their backup goaltender, Agnes Goodleaf, he can be a starter. But he hasn't gotten a whole lot of playing time where you could say, yeah, you know what? We can go with him after, Matty goes. But Agnes is 30 years of age. He goes 6'2", 274. So the longer he backs up Matt Vince, how many years is he going to have as a solid starter?
Mm-hmm.
Because after that, who do they have? They're going to have to really start looking at the goaltending.
Now, a lot of what's going on in Rochester has to, it's all based on, does Cody Jamieson come back at 100%? We know he's not there now because he's not in the lineup.
Right, and when he comes back, when will it be? That's the
right. And I don't think after last year they're going to rush that.
No,
and I blame them. Let him heal, and then worry about it. Because you still have Dan Dawson, you still have Joe Rositeris, you still have Corey Vitarelli. You've drafted in the number 5 pick Austin Shanks.
Yeah.
You picked in the number 6 Eric Fennell, who had a pretty good summer with the Rock. And he's going to learn to play with Josh Courier.
And you also got Kyle Jackson, who had one hell of a rookie season for them.
Yep. And then, of course, with the number 2 pick, you took Jake Withers as a faceoff specialist. And he had a pretty good summer as well, I'd say.
Yeah. So, yeah, they
have the pieces. But again, in order for this thing to work, you're going to have Jamieson, Fennell, and Vince all key figures if they're going to make a serious run. Which means that Vince has to play like Vince before, Jamieson has to come back healthy, and Fennell better get on his tutoring lessons because he needs to pick it up real quick.
Yeah, and that's,
I like Fennell. I honestly, my inside thing was I was hoping the Rock would draft him, but obviously at number 6, he went quicker.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to this game. I'm lucky enough I'm going to be there, so I'm going to get a chance to see Eric Fennell and Austin Shanks up close to see how they, play against the Calgary defense.
I understand why they took Withers because they haven't had a face-off guy in a bunch of years, and now if everybody is firing on all cylinders, having the ball more often off the face-off is definitely going to help their offense quite a bit. But that's down the road a little bit.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, there's nothing...
That should be an interesting game, though. I think it's going to be a lot closer than anyone's figured.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking, though, it's going to be really interesting to see how these teams are going to gel and which the teams that haven't made that many moves, if that was enough, and they're already gelling.
Yeah, and then, you also put in the back there players that are on the 1-year deals. How much are they, they want to stay there and make it harder for the owners to decide who stays, who goes by the end of the season.
I'm sure when they signed the 1-year deal, everything was brought to their attention on how they were going to do this and how they were going to play this for next year's expansion draft. I'm sure already all the chess pieces are in play.
Yeah, and when you look, the only thing that's not in play yet is the rules, and we talked about this before. How many can you protect? How many goalies? And
yeah, but that's why we have these 1-year agreements and a lot of verbal agreements,
right,
on what's going to happen as soon as the draft hits.
Yeah, that
for the next couple of years. a lot of these one-year agreements happening, because if the commissioner is true in what he's saying, we're going to see expansion in the next couple of years, a couple of teams every year. And then slowly but surely we're going to move to a 20 then a 22-game season, which is why we're starting this week and not in a month, to try and get used to having things early.
Early, right?
But eventually all these bye weeks, as we were talking about last week, are going to get filled. And then we're, the games at 22 games a year, that's going to be a whole different animal. And how to keep the teams. I'm curious if they're going to increase the bench size when you're going to have 22 games, because, simply put, players will wear down.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at right now what they can dress,
and work commitments and other things. See, another thing we didn't really bring up was with Georgia having 3 goalies on their practice squad. I brought it up last week, but just to bring it up again, if they catch an injury, they have 4 defensemen on their practice squad. If they catch a forward injury, say one of the Thompsons goes down, God forbid, but if it happens, what do?
Yeah.
Now they got to go looking for free agents? Or they're going to have to try and make trades?
Yeah.
Things get very, very interesting. If a defenseman goes down, no problem. You got 4 on the practice squad. But why I don't understand why you're carrying 3 goalies. And will you be changing that soon? I've been trying to think about it. I've looked at it. Yeah, I guess you haven't figured out who could be number 2. But isn't that what you played the 3 training games for?
Yeah.
I would put one of the goalies there. I would cut one of those defensemen, and I would find another forward to put on your practice squad. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what. Something like that happens, like you said, one of the Thompsons goes down, what do you
Or anybody else for that matter.
Anybody, yeah.
One forward goes down, what are you going to do? Use your transition guys as forward? I guess you're going to have to.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they'll move up Kyle Matisse. I mean...
It's possible. Like, obviously they have skilled players that can do it. And I guess they figure there's enough transition guys that can do it that they don't have to worry about it. But... I don't know. To me, it just doesn't make that much sense.
No, it don't.
Ed Como knows a hell of a lot more than I do, and he's forgotten more about this game than I'll ever know. So I'll leave it in his capable hands to figure that one out.
Yeah, it's just something that you kind of sit there. You just have to scratch your head.
Yeah, that's just kind of like you watch some of the things that Derek Keenan's going to do, and you're just going to say, well, the evil genius is up to something, so we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah,
and see how that plays out. Well, and Saskatchewan on a bye in the first week, so they'll be nice and rested when they come to Toronto the following week, but we'll discuss that next week.
Next week, right. Yeah, and then you got Vancouver and Calgary, they'll come over. But, yeah, there's the slate of games. You got 4 games for opening weekend. Today is Christmas Eve for the lacrosse fans. Tomorrow's Christmas Day. Tomorrow night, 7:30 is Christmas Day when you unwrap your gift. Okay, and there's going to be
with excitement throughout the day.
Yeah, and you're gonna have 4 unwrappings this weekend. 3 of them tomorrow night with the 2017 champs Georgia Swarm facing the New England Black Wolves. You have the Toronto Rock shuffling their way down to Buffalo. Just a little hop, skip, and a jump over the border to face Buffalo. Colorado travels to Vancouver to face itself at the Langley Event Center. And Calgary will face Rochester on Saturday night. That is the only game Saturday night. All these start at 7:30 Eastern, except for Colorado, Vancouver. That's obviously 10:30 Eastern. And Gary, like you mentioned, the Twitter game of the week is Toronto versus Buffalo. There were a couple things that have happened throughout the league. One is a TV deal here with CBS Sports Digital. And I'm trying to get into it right now. This is on NLL.com. and it has that the National Lacrosse League partners with CBS Sports Digital to stream NLL regular season and playoff games. Now, this is obviously on a looks like a pay-per-view service as well, but it's a way of getting the game out there. And this is on NLL.com. Obviously, go to NLL.com, subscribe to NLL TV. You can either take your own team and just pay, what was the price here? Let me see. I think it was $25 for your team. Yeah, here we go. The season pass is $34.95, and that gets you access to all the NLL video content for the entire season on all your devices. So you get to see everything, every single game on NLL TV. Any videos that goes through the NLL season, that'll be on there. A My Team Pass is just, you select your team and you get all your favorite teams live and on-demand video content delivered to all your devices. That's $24.95. So, do you want to pay $24.95 for just your team and not see anything else? Or pay the extra $10 and you get everything? My thing is you get everything. Pay the $34.95. And then a single game, if you just want to watch one game, if you're just a first-timer and you're not too sure, you want to watch it and get used to it, $7.95, you select the game that you want to watch, and you watch it, and that's what that is. So you have $7.95 for a single game, $24.95 for your favorite team, whatever team you wish to deem your favorite, or you pay $34.95 and you get everything. Best bet is to pay the $34.95 like I did. It's plus tax, so but you get everything on there, and it's well worth the $35. You get to see every NLL game, which is very hard to do for $35, Gary.
Yeah. All right, shall we get the picks?
Yes, and this is what I want to do this year also. I'm going to keep a little running tab of what our record is to see who can get bragging rights. Okay?
All right.
And I'm going to put it up on our page Behind the Bench on Facebook. And anybody that is on our page, if they want to jump in on it as well, put their picks in and we'll see how it goes. If you don't pick games for that week, it's not going to go against you. I mean, I would like to say, yeah, it would. It would just go down as losses. But, I'm not going to be that, I guess you say, strict. I would like to see everybody stay in it for the whole entire year, to pick the game so you see how you've done. But you have to be at least, I would say, 75 to 80% of the games?
Yeah.
To get the bragging rights. We don't want to see somebody just pick first 4 games, go 4-0, and not pick the rest of the way and say, hey, I had a perfect record. When you have all the games that are going to be out there. So, it'll just be something to do, have some fun with it this year. Now, let's get the picks going here. Georgia at New England. What do you think, Gary?
I'm going as a dog here, and I'm going with New England.
New England? Yeah, I'm going to agree there with what Georgia's missing to start the season. I don't know. I don't see them going into New England and being able to beat them on the opener. I really don't. You have the Thompsons. Yes, they're a threat. But on the other side, you step over that center line, you still got Sean Evans, you got Kevin Crowley, you got the goaltending with Aaron Bold back there, you got the defense with veteran presence of David Brock and Brett Manny that will make you earn every single inch on that floor. So I just don't, I don't see Georgia winning this. It's going to be a nail biter. I'll tell you that. I think New England, wins this maybe by about 2 goals, maybe with an empty netter at the end. This is going to be a tough game. Toronto at Buffalo. Toronto in this one. There's just too much firepower, and for a team that's, I guess, somewhat rebuilding, Alex Bouquet now being the man in Buffalo, I don't know. They like we stated earlier, Gary. Buffalo really didn't do a whole heck of a lot to make that defense stronger. Okay, they lost somebody like Billy D. Smith, who takes the penalties and things of that nature, but still having somebody of that with that presence. They also lost David Brock, so you lost a couple key components back there, defense and transition. Alex Keto Hill. I think they lost too much. Don't even want to talk about the offense with Ryan Benesh. So, and with Toronto's firepower, all you got to look at is Tom Schreiber, Adam Jones, Hickey, and Hellier. I mean, and there's more after that.
There's lots more after that.
Yeah.
I think Buffalo is on the way up, but I don't think they're there. I don't think that they have all their problems addressed yet, and I think Toronto is a team that's on the rise. I picked them to win the division.
Yeah, we'll get to that after we got our picks.
Taking Toronto over Buffalo.
Yeah. Now our third game, Colorado at Vancouver. This, I think, is going to be the toughest game of the week to pick.
Yeah, you have both teams that have rebuilt, have done a lot of switching and moving, worked with the draft. Colorado has had a little more of the injury problem. I have 2 things that sway me to Vancouver. One is it's a home game, looking to turn the page. Mm-hmm. Number 2, I really like what they've done. I like some of the moves they've made. So, and they're healthy.
Yeah, they're healthy.
So I'm going with Vancouver in this one.
Yeah, Gary, I'm echoing the same thing you are with what Vancouver's done. Plus, also, Colorado's without Zach Greer.
Well, yeah, Benesh is playing by himself.
By himself, right? I mean, not by you got Stephen Keogh out there.
You still have Ruiz and a few of the other guys, but it's not what it's going to be.
No. I mean, you add Zach Greer to a mixture of Benesh and Stephen Keogh. That's a lethal combination. Benesh and Keogh together, yeah, it's still a lethal combination, but not what it could be with Zach Greer being out there. Because if they would go man up, you're putting Benesh and Greer out there definitely, and then you have Keogh. You're going to have a strong presence there. You got Eli McLaughlin, okay, who came out of, I don't want to say came out of nowhere last year, but he had a strong year. But when you're missing the presence of a Zach Greer, you're going to feel it, and going against a team like Vancouver, who has done some things, I would have to go with them too, being at home. I mean, they showed me a lot last year in the playoffs and towards the end of the regular season, and I think they're going to carry it right over, especially opening up at home. Saturday night, Calgary at Rochester. Calgary will obviously no more Jeff Shatler, but you still have Superman Curtis Dixon and Dane Dobby. Those two can carry a team on their shoulders. They really can. But the question here is, what are you going to look at as far as the goaltending? Does Ciciano do what he's supposed to do? Are you going to see Del Bianco? What's going to go there? Calgary bolstered up their roster, defense and the offense. Anthony Kalinic, you have Vaughn Harris back there, Riley Lowen. I'm just going through here. Tyler Pace back here on defense. you got young bucks back there. As sometimes you like to say, some of them are still a little wet behind the ears. Zach Currier back there on transition. Holden Katoni can put the ball in the net, obviously, as well. And Tyson Bell back there on defense. I think they're going to give Rochester some problems, but I think Rochester's offense may be just a little bit more than they can handle, even without Cody Jamieson. So I'm going to go with Rochester in this game.
Here's the only one we differ on. I'm actually going with Calgary. I think they did the most to bolster their lineup. As I said earlier in the show, I think that they've overcome losing Shatler. And they've bolstered up their defense, their transition. I think Del Bianco, being a year wiser and having a lot of experience throughout the summer, is going to be playing a lot smarter. And Scigliano off the bench is, he's only 25. And I think he's going to be really solid off the bench in case.
Right.
There's still an awful lot of questions with Rochester, and they have a lot of young players. The factor that would put this game as really close is, of course, the Matt Mintz factor.
Right.
I think a little bit later in the season, I would probably switch it around the other way around. But coming out of the gates, I like Calgary's chances in this game.
Okay. So that'll be the only one that we differ on. Now, there are some milestones, real quick, before we get into where we think teams are going to finish in the division and who we think is going to get to the Champions Cup. Milestones. A Rochester win on Saturday, or we'll just say their first win of the season, will be the franchise's 200th victory in the history of the franchise. And Calgary needs 3 for 150. You're looking at some other ones that are coming up for Toronto and things like that, but that's going to be a big one right there. Rochester's first win should have come Saturday to be the 200th in franchise history. Now, let's get to, real quick, how we think these teams are going to finish in the standings and who do we see in the Champions Cup. Gary, I'm looking at this order here. Toronto, New England, then I would have to say Georgia, Rochester, and Buffalo. Toronto will win the division, but I would say by a game. It's going to come down to the end, and that third playoff spot between Georgia and Rochester is going to come down to the final week as well. Buffalo, still down there in a 5 seed. They're still a couple years away.
Yeah, I have the same thing, except I have Georgia and New England switched back. I have Georgia finishing second and New England finishing third, but that could be up in the air. That all depends. I think that's going to be within a game of one another.
Right, yeah. It's going to be a dogfight for those 3 positions, but I still have Toronto coming out ahead there. Over in the West, Saskatchewan, I see them right there with no problem. Second through fourth, I don't know where to go with. I mean, I would like to say Calgary. Yeah, but I would have to see how they play. But that, you know what? I want to say Calgary. But no, I'm going Colorado second, but barely. Calgary 3. No, Vancouver 3, Calgary 4. I think just 2 through 4 is going to be a mix. I don't know. It's going to be rough to pick, see who comes out of there.
It could be anything, and I actually have Calgary second and Colorado fourth with Vancouver third. But that could easily be switched around to Vancouver second with Calgary fourth.
Yeah, I think
Colorado third. So, as it stands right now, we'll figure it out as it goes. But
I think it's going to. I think
Calgary finishing second.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on when Zach Greer comes back.
Mm-hmm.
The sooner he comes back, the more likely you could say Colorado finishes 2 or 3, and depending on how these young Roughnecks play and get adapted to the game, could really decide.
So here's the question: who plays Saskatchewan for the Champions Cup?
Oof.
You see what I
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would. I'd like to see Toronto play them. I think that would be a really good matchup. You know what? I think it's going to be an all-Canadian final. I really do. If Toronto can win the East, I see Toronto and Saskatchewan playing for it.
But I think it all depends on if Toronto can stay healthy.
Yeah. If they cannot stay healthy, what would really be interesting, Saskatchewan and New England.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It'll be interesting. Like I say, Toronto has to stay healthy, and we get a good shot next week to see what that's going to look like.
Yeah, got to see, because we know what Saskatchewan can do. We'll see what Toronto can do. It's a long season. It's the start of Christmas, Gary. I mean, I can't say it enough. I mean, we're all set to go. It's going to be exciting. It really is. Things get started off this weekend, like we said, 7:30 Eastern. You have those games: Georgia at New England, Toronto at Buffalo, and at 10:30 Eastern time, you got Colorado at Vancouver. Saturday night, only one game on the slate, and that's Calgary at Rochester, 7:30 Eastern. Twitter game of the week: Toronto at Buffalo. Gary, another great week. The season starts next week. We dive into the games and analyze each game, or try to.
All right, that's what we're going to do.
It's going to be fun. Thanks again to Yum Yum Lax. Go to their Facebook page. They have some really interesting things on there. The Eastern Conference preview, their Western Conference preview. It's another media source outlet that's out there. So visit their Facebook page at Yum Yum Lax. Tell all your friends about us. Join our page, Behind the Bench. We try to keep everything fresh up there, up to date. Gary with Lax Philly, me within Lacrosse We Trust. Visit both those pages as well. You have a ton of lacrosse information out there. And hopefully in the weeks to come, we start getting some guests to call in, or even some recorded interviews. I'll have a Facebook Live, hopefully video, game interview on Saturday with some of the players. I don't know who. I'll try to get somebody out there. But that'll do it for Season 2, Episode 2. We will see everybody back here again next Thursday night when we record the show and post it up on YouTube. So, for Gary Groove at laxphilly.com, I'm Rocco Granado for lacrosseretrust.com. I thank everybody for listening, and we'll see everybody next week.